Hello guys, this is Cambo tutorial, and today we're going to making the native ads in the custom dialog box. And this is the final results that we're gonna achieve today. Okay, so before we go into actual syntax, we have two steps to implement the ads in the dialog. For the first one, we will create the XML layout for the custom design exits dialog, which is contain two buttons, yes, no, and we will put the native ads with the exit dialog. And then secondly, we will create a Java class which is used for interact with the layout that we have designed. Without further ado, let's get started. Suppose that we already installed Android Studio. After we launch this, that's gonna show us this project dialogs. And these dialogs contain different activities templates which give us hands to make Android app quickly. But now we're going to choose an empty activity because we are not going to focus much on making things on the activity. Okay, after that we hit the next button, and this we need to give our application name. So for example, we're gonna call this add dialogs. Okay, for the language we're gonna choose a Java by default, and the minimum API we're gonna leave it there too, Android 5. And the last thing, we're gonna hit the finish button. So then we need to wait a moment until it process done before we get move on. Okay, so before we can show the ads in the Android, we have to insert the metadata inside the Android manifest file for identify which application is using Admob and requesting the Admob. To do this, we're gonna go to the browser and search for the Admob SDK Android. And we can see here, this link is the official developer page. Then we're gonna scroll down here and we're gonna copy this. So then we go back to the Android Studio, open up the Android manifest file, and then we're gonna place in this children of the activity element. And about this block XML, if we didn't insert when we run the application, that's gonna be gross, and it's gonna show error message something like Admob SDK was initialized incorrectly, something like this. So okay, then we have to change the value here to the valid one, and this one is the sample Admob app ID. Whenever we work in the development mode, we should use this to avoid the Admob term of service. But when we're going to publish the app into the Play Store, we're gonna change this to your actual ID, which we can find in your Admob console. So let's replace this value with this sample ID. Okay, next we have to import mobile ads SDK dependencies, which allow us to making the ad request to the ad inventory that's gonna return into the different ads assets based on what we have implemented in our code. To do this, we have to add a dependency in our creator file, which is located in the app level. Now let's go to the browser, and then we're gonna copy this line. Then we're gonna go back and open the file build.creator, this one, not this one, okay? Then we paste it back in the dependency section. Now we just insert the ad library, and we can speed up on making design ads from scratch. We need the template ad, and the template ads we can use the sample template ad that they have designed already. There are two templates which we can choose, with the smaller one is suitable for the implement in the recycler view, and the medium one is better to implement in the dialog or directly insert into the activity. Okay, let's go back to the browser. We click on the native ad here, and then the native template. Okay, so we can download the template here, but before we do that, let's scroll down and we can see the sample template one. It is small and the one is the medium. So inside the template ads that we're going to download, it have a template design already, and we can pick up one of these layout files when we implement it in the Android project. Okay, So let's go back and we're going to download that template by hitting this button, and then it's been navigated to the GitHub project. So we click here and then download zip. After we download, we're gonna extract the zip file, and then we're going to import the module into our Android project. So to do this, we go to File, New, Import Module, and then find the module that we have extract at the moment. And then we click the Finish button. When we include the module, we're gonna see the project is shown over here. And now we just include the module into our project, and we will not able to use that module yet, because in Android project, if we want some additional libraries or modules to work in our project, we have to add those in the Gradle file. Now let's go to the browser again. Then if we scroll down here, we're gonna copy this line, the native template, then go back to open the file build.gradle again, and we pass it down over here. When we edit something in this file, that's gonna pop up the link over here. So this link will pull all the dependencies that we place inside and other additional dependencies that related to the Ad SDK. So now let's click that, and we have to wait a little bit to download the library, and this depends on your internet connection. Now we went so far on configuration Ad SDK in a general, but we not have done implement on a real syntax yet. So firstly, I have said that there are two steps to do with. First step, we're gonna create a layout XML file, which will contain the template ad view and the exit dialog. To do this, right click on the layout, new, XML, layout XML file, and we're gonna call this exit dialog. And for root tag, we're gonna leave it by default, and then we're gonna click a finish button. Okay, now we have created an empty XML layout file, and we're gonna make like an example here. You can follow me or skip this part, because I have set the timestamp so that you gonna easily navigate to the part that you want to see. This main wrapper for layout height, I'm gonna set into the wrap content, and the orientation to the vertical. This ad is attached on the top of dialog, so we're gonna insert that firstly. To do quick, let's go to the browser, and then we go scroll down to this, and then we're gonna copy, and we go back and paste in over here. For ID, we're gonna call add template. For template type, if we want to medium size, we just change to the layout to the medium here. And now we have done on placing ads. Then we're gonna work in the dialog box. So we're gonna create inner layout to wrap the content dialog area by saying linear layout. We're gonna set the padding into 15 dp, height, wrap content, orientation is vertical. And then the title dialogs, we're gonna use the tag view. The width is wrap content, the height is wrap content, text exit, and then we're gonna set color to the black. And the text size we're going to set 25 dp to make a little bit bigger, and it should be bold text. And it seems close to the border. Let me set into the layout margin to the 10 dp. Okay. Then we're gonna set the message content. We're gonna copy that. Just change the text. Do you want to exit? And change the text size to the 18 dp. So then the last one in the dialogs is the button. The buttons here are the left and the right, which is sit after another in the x-axis. So we're gonna call a new linear layout. because we want to change the orientation into the horizontal one, and width and height is going to be a rectangle, and the orientation is horizontal, and that's would be look nice and standard if we set the layout gravity to the right. Okay, then we're gonna create two buttons inside this linear layout. The first button, that's gonna be yes. So the ID, we're gonna set the btn underscore yes. Width and height is going to be a rectangle, and the text is yes. So if we want to remove the gray color background here, so we're gonna set that into the transparent background. And then we're gonna copy this and pass it to create another button. And then we just change something a little bit like a text to no and ID btn underscore no. Okay, cool. Now we have done on the UI. So to make this UI can interact with the user, we're going to create a class which is our step 2. So right click on this package, new class, and we're gonna call the exits dialog. And the super class, we're going to extend it from the dialog, which is from the package android.app. Because we are going to do the custom dialog, that's why we have to extend from it. When we extend from this class, there is no default constructor, so we have to create a constructor which have two parameters. One is the activity, and then the objects of the native ads that we're gonna pass it from the main activity class. And then we have to pass the context in the activity to the constructor of the super class by saying super, and then pass the activity content into the parentheses. Now we can get these parameters from here, but we may not be able to use in the other methods in this class, so we have to define the global variable. Let's say unified native ad, and the activity. And then we're gonna assign those parameters to the global variable. Okay, now this class we have to override method on create, because we haven't inserted the dialog layout that we have designed into this class yet. So overriding on create, then by default the dialog have its own title part, and we completely design everything already, so we're gonna disable that by saying request window feature no title. Okay, then we're gonna set the layout view into that. The resource layout name exist underscore dialog. Okay, now we are able to call all controls which are inside that layout. I mean the buttons and the ad template. Okay, we're gonna find those by the reference ID, button yes, find view by ID, and the button no. And then we're gonna implement the action when we click on those buttons, and we're gonna call the activity.finished to exit the app, and no, we're going to dismiss the dialog. And now the action in the dialogs is complete. Then the last things in here is set add object into the add template. To do this, we're going to find the ID add template, and this will return as the template view object. So now we're gonna call add, and actually when we make the add request from the main activity, we're not really sure that it's gonna successfully retrieve the add, or sometimes the internet connection is not going well, or sometimes a leak of ads inventory. And if so, that would be nice to set the ads template into the invisible. So we're gonna check if condition there's no ads, we're gonna hide, and else we're gonna show, and then we're gonna set the object ads into the ad template. And now everything is nearly done. Let's go to the main activity class. When we launch the activity for the first time on create, it's gonna call. So we have to preload the ads by making the ad request. For every first line, we're gonna initialize the ad SDK by saying mobile ad.initialize, and then we pass context. Then the last argument is the callback. And this statement we're gonna call ad once, and then we're just making the ad request with the ad loader builder. For the first argument is the context activity, and then the native ads unit ID. Here we can place the ads unit ID that you can find in the Admob console. But for testing, we recommend to make it with the sample one. So let's go back to the browser and we're gonna go to this page. And then we're gonna copy this unit ID for a native ad. And then we're gonna pass it over here. After that, we call the build with ad listener. We're gonna listen on the action related to the ad. For native ad, except on ad load method, we can use all the methods to check the action. In this case, we're gonna implement it on ad load to false, so that we're gonna know if there's problems when making the ad request. Okay, to get the native ad object, we're gonna use the builder dot for unified native ad, and then we implement the callback. Because we're doing a preload ad, so we're gonna define the native ads in the global scope to use it later on. And then we set the value into it. And we're gonna toast the message so that we're gonna know if the ad is load ready. Okay, now we have done on making ad request. For the last thing that we're gonna do is to show the dialog when we hit the back button. To do this, we're gonna override method which is called onBackBraced. Then inside that, we're gonna instance the objects of the exist dialog, the activity content, and then the object native ads that we have making the request. And finally, we're gonna call a show methods to display the dialog. Alright, we went so far on implemented, and now it's time for running test. Okay, so I click back button. The test ad is shown with the dialog box. And one more thing, we also can maximum the size of the dialog to match its parent content. So to do this, over here we're gonna call that object dialog get window, and then window.set layout. For the first parameter is a width, and then we're gonna extend it to the maximize match parent, and the height is gonna wrap content dialogs. Okay, then we run once again. Okay, it's worked fine, and you can see the border here is maximum to the parent content. Okay, so this is a bit longer video, but I hope this would help who want the tutorial from scratch making this Native Ads in the dialogues. And if you're new, please give me subscribe and share this video, and see you all in the next video.